What's up? Last week I started into the oh my god, it's way too fucking early to be doing this Oscar Oscar season predictions. Where I started kind of making fun of people in their Oscar predictions. I picked 10 videos. I was hoping that video would be shorter, but goddamn, that was 52 minutes. So I gotta talk fast because I do not want these videos to be that long. So we're gonna jump right in. If you don't know who I am, it's on my channel. And I'm a blind film critic, and I also predict the Oscars because I'm fairly decent at it. So, and for us to be talking about the Oscars in April is a bit much. Um, but these are the films that I've seen other people talking about, and this is another group of 10. So, this is week 2 of this. I'm not doing it category by category, I'm doing it film by film. So, here are 10 more films that people won't shut up about. Starting off one, might as well start with it because it opened New York, LA this week, and that is Beau is Afraid. This is Ari Aster's latest opus. It stars Joaquin Phoenix, who, of course, he's been nominated a bunch of times for Oscars. He's won. So apparently, to a lot of people, that means, yeah, this is an Oscar contender. No, it's not. First of all, this film's been reviewed and it's very divisive. This is basically if Babylon was a horror movie and opened in April. Now, Babylon was not a horror movie. Babylon leaned in on Hollywood. It was a Hollywood themed film. Hollywood likes to nominate films about Hollywood, and they still barely gave Babylon any nominations. So, if Babylon had opened in April with a director everybody loves, Damien Chazelle, which is just like Ari Aster. Everybody's, Ari Aster has his own fans. No nominations would happen. Add to the fact that this is also a horror film, and the Oscar voters don't nominate horror films. So I don't know what to tell you. Uh, Anybody who's predicting Beau is Afraid, remove them from your subscriptions or something. If you're here for Oscar predictions and you want to know what film, no, if they're predicting this, they're letting their fan cloud their judgment because I don't. This is not going to be the film. This is not going to be the horror film that transcends into Oscar. I'm sure we will. Later on down the line, I'm sure we'll get a horror film. It might even come from Ari Aster, but this reminds me far too much. It's opening the same window, same frame of time that Robert Eggers' The Northman opened last year. That's another director that has a nice little following. And that film, again, got no Oscar nominations, which means Robert Eggers continues to get no Oscar nominations, just like Ari Aster will continue to get no Oscar nominations. I'm not saying that that's right. That's just the reality. So, moving on. Number 2 on my list is let's go ahead and talk about it. Magazine Dreams. I kind of wanted to talk about this last week, but I didn't fit it in, so we're going to talk about it this week. This is a film that was bought out of Sundance and was going to be sort of an Oscar bait film. If it were me, I would move this. I would push this back. There's absolutely zero chance that Jonathan Majors is getting an Oscar nomination this year. I don't care how good this performance is. He's not going to get an Oscar nomination in the same year that his troubles are going on. We'll say that. We'll leave it at that. Troubles. I'm gonna go with Troubles because I don't want to be. If you want to know more, Google it. Let's just say if Brie Larson has to present Jonathan Majors with any sort of award this year, she's gonna lose her fucking mind. So, um, yeah, this is a tough one because before this has been a problem when it's been brought up when things have come up from the past, from previous years. Now we're talking about something that happened in the same year as the release of the film. So I just don't think he can. I think he needs distance. I think the best thing to do with Magazine Dreams is to push this to next year. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. That's my thought on that. It's funny because I've seen people also who think that they've got like 3 of the 5 actor nominations this year are all black, and I love your optimism. But again, there's been nothing about the Oscars that would ever let you believe that that's going to happen, that's where we're at in this world. Um, we still very much live in an Oscar so white world, and there are a lot of films, a lot of performances this year that are getting early buzz from black performers and black directors with black casts, and I'm so nervous for all of them because I do not trust these Oscar voters. Do not trust them. And if they're looking for a reason to not nominate a film, Magazine Dreams is giving them one. So I would move it. I hope this is at least a 2024 release, if not later. So moving on from Magazine Dreams. We're going to move into sort of a duality effect here. We're going to talk about sort of two films simultaneously. And there's a reason for that. This is Asteroid City and also The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar, because for whatever reason, we have earned ourselves two Wes Anderson movies in the same year. Asteroid City is opening in the summer, and The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar is opening in December. It is a Netflix release. It's based on a Roald Dahl book. So basically, the general thought here is that people believe that because Wes Anderson does not typically get nominations from the Academy, he's only ever gotten one Best Picture nomination with Grand Budapest Hotel, that they will continue to ignore him, that these films feel like they're going to be ignored. I think that's fair. He seems to have his own little following of people, and people believe he's a good director. But for some reason, when you see a statistic like of all of his films, only Grand Budapest made Best Picture, that's a harsh statistic. I didn't even realize that was true. I was like, didn't Moonrise Kingdom get a Best Picture nomination? I guess not. He's never had an actor nominated for many of his films. His films are way too ensemble to actually be able to select a single individual nomination out of any of them. So I just, unfortunately, I look at these two films, and Asteroid City feels a lot like another Moonrise Kingdom, where it's got like a kid cast and then it's got a massive adult ensemble. And Wonderful World of Henry Sugar could be a little bit of a more fantastical journey, like Fantastic Mr. Fox and so on, like that. I love Wes Anderson. I do. Some of my favorite films are Wes Anderson films, but I think the only time that I ever felt like he missed for me was Isle of Dogs, and I feel like I'm alone on that one. So a lot of people loved Isle of Dogs. I didn't like it. This is the only Wes Anderson film out of all of his entire catalog where I'm just like, I don't want to ever watch that again. Yeah, I think it's funny because with so many people, we're basically just looking at who's directing it, how do the Oscars like them. Okay, that means it's going to get nominated. Oh, no, it won't be nominated. So, guess Wes Anderson's not getting any Oscar nominations this year. Coming up number 5 on the list, following the list of Let's Talk About the Director, is Challengers. This is from Luca Guadagnino. It's currently slated for like a September release. Last year he had Bones and All, was in contention. And I guess people have equated the fact that because Bones and All did not get a nomination, and his film before that, Suspiria, did not get a nomination, that means that the Oscars do not love Luca Guadagnino anymore. They can't, I guess people just can't correlate in their brain that Oscar voters don't like horror films. I don't know why this is so hard. It's not really a hard concept. Oscar voters do not vote for horror films. They don't. If you look at like maybe the best example of a horror film that's been nominated recently is Get Out. And if you actually look at what's in Get Out, it's barely a horror film. I mean, nobody's being chopped up. It's really tame on gore. And there's like the one sequence where they're going to try to do the transfer that I guess is gory. But for the most part, this film is really And Get Out, qualifying that as a horror film is a bit of a stretch. So, uh, yeah, maybe it's just the fact that Oscar voters don't like horror films. That's why Hereditary didn't get nominated with Toni Collette. It's why no matter how many people tried to get Mia Goth a nomination last year, it didn't happen for her. It's not going to happen. However, Challengers is not a horror movie. It's some sort of romantic drama with Zendaya, who gets nominated all the time for Euphoria. This could very well be Zendaya's foray into an Oscar nomination. I think she's very much a rising star. And if this film is good, she's being backed by two other rising stars, West Side Story's Mike Feist and The Crown's Josh O'Connor. And I think there's a solid cast here. If it's good, I don't see why Challengers could not be an Oscar contender. Luca Guadagnino obviously does that youth cast thing really well. He did it with Call Me By Your Name. And this could be Luca's way of getting back into Oscar's good graces. I wouldn't count out on Zendaya. She's also in Dune Part 2, so she's going to be in a lot of people's minds. So, that's Challengers. I don't currently have it in my top 10, but I'm very much aware of Zendaya. Zendaya would be sort of more of a front runner for me for Best Actress right now. Next up on the list, when we're talking about directors, is Poor Things, which is Yorgos Lanthimos' new film. And this is an interesting one because you would think that Yorgos Lanthimos started directing with The Favorite, because so many people think Poor Things is a big Oscar contender this year. And that's why they're predicting it, is because Yorgos got nominated with The Favorite. Okay, but yeah, The Lobster didn't get nominated. You know, he does not always get nominated. And this film feels really weird. It's a film about a woman who has her brain replaced with that of a 4-year-old. So Emma Stone stars in this. It's also got Willem Dafoe. It's got a little bit of that Frankenstein aspect, but some people are already admitting that it could make people uncomfortable with the idea of, if there's any sort of sexuality in this film. And she's got the mind of a 4-year-old, and what the implications of that. Whether or not this will play well. This was supposed to come out last year. It did not. It got pushed. Who knows why it got pushed? It could have gotten pushed because of a good reason or a bad reason. We never know why films get pushed. But they didn't make a big announcement like Apple did. Apple wanted you to know that Killers of the Flower Moon was not being moved because they didn't like it. It was being moved because they do like it. like they're like, no, we're premiering this at Cannes, and it's going to be our big film, and we're putting it in theaters. So Poor Things, I don't know. I would say probably the strongest contender here is going to be Emma Stone. Whether or not she can break in. I know a lot of people are always hope-predicting that Willem Dafoe gets a nomination. I know they really want that to happen. Maybe, if the film actually does have traction. It just depends on how weird Yorgos Lanthimos is willing to go here. I think this could make people a little too uncomfortable if he goes a little too weird with it. So, anyway. Speaking of Apple, there's another film that they have on the table, and that is Blitz. You may or may not have heard of this film. It's directed by Steve McQueen. It stars Saoirse Ronan and Harris Dickinson. The reason why a lot of people... This is really fun. This is a fun one to watch when this one pops up on people's lists. They immediately talk about it. They're like, man, if Blitz is for sure doing 2023, then it's for sure on my list. But I don't know. We don't trust it. They don't trust it because they don't think that Apple would put Blitz in the same year that they have Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon. So, which I haven't talked about yet, but I will next time around. I can't talk about everything in one video. So Blitz is it just wrapped production. Saoirse Ronan was really excited about it. I mean, they could very easily wrap post production on this film and get this out at the end of the year, like they threw in Emancipation in the end of the year. But if this is a strong film, I don't know why they wouldn't push it like they did Killers of the Flower Moon to 2024, make Blitz their big film for 2024. So I'm also leaning on the side that I don't understand why they don't need it. It's just going to crowd their marketplace. Apple has two big films that I know they spent a lot of money on already slated for release this year. I don't see the upside of releasing Blitz in the same year. If they release Blitz, it's because it's not good. It's either because Blitz isn't good or Napoleon's not good. One of the two. So it says something about one of the films, and they're just releasing it to bury it. So just to get it out there and just be like, well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But that's that. Those are my thoughts on Blitz. Again, I live in the same category as everybody else. If Blitz announces for 2023, I do think it's a contender. I would put it in my top 10. I would actually believe that Apple could get 2 Best Picture nominations with Killers and Blitz. I think it hurts Napoleon more than anything else. But Napoleon might be great. They might have seen Napoleon and been like, okay, this is Ridley Scott's comeback. So who knows? We haven't seen these films. That's what makes this so asinine. We're going based solely off of names and actors and distributors. It's very odd. Next up, we're predicting a film that doesn't even have a fucking title. Everybody's predicting the untitled Bob Marley Project. Yeah, doesn't even have a title, but we're all up in this. And it's amazing how many people immediately throw Kingsley Benadir into the best actor race. They're like, oh, well, if this isn't Kingsley Benadir, is clearly a front runner. Is he? Because not every musical biopic results in Oscar nominations. I mean, we could go down a list. I mean, Don Cheadle playing Miles Davis, Kevin Spacey playing Bobby Darin, Kevin Kline. You know, I mean, there's just so many people who have done musical biopics that have not. Last year, Naomi Aoki playing Whitney Houston, nothing. There's supposed to be an Amy Winehouse film this year that it's funny, everybody's like, oh yeah, the Bob Marley thing, because, you know, it's a transformation and it's an icon. No one's talking about Amy. No one's talking about the Amy Winehouse film. It's just... So in the same breath, they're like contradicting themselves. They're like, yes, this one thing is going to be great because it's from the guy that did King Richard. That other film, I don't know, it's sketchy. I don't know about that one. So yeah, I have no idea. It has a very weird release date. Technically, it's not scheduled for release this year, but it is scheduled for release like MLK weekend, January, for a wide release. Which, if it's Oscar baity, really feels like the kind of thing that platforms that gets a New York, LA type release at the end of the year, and then it ends up going wide in January. So I get it. I get why it's there. I just don't know. I mean, this film doesn't. At this point, this film has been talked about so much that I think its official title should be Untitled Bob Marley Project, because at this point, it's gotten so much free publicity on the internet from people talking about it that if you try to name it, it's gonna be hard because then you're gonna have to build up a new set of promotion under the new title. Oh god. Anyway, so that's that. Coming up next on my list is Wonka. This is people trying to get Wonka in there. They're trying. It's a musical. It's Timothy Chalamet, and of course, because Timothy Chalamet must be getting Oscar nominated. He's only been nominated once, but my God, conceptually, I'm sure people are just like, this is the film we need right now. You know what? You know what's funny? I do think Wonka will get Oscar nominations. I think it will in tech categories. This totally feels like the kind of film that gets nominated for like costume design. You know, this feels very much like a makeup, maybe. You know, stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe even score. It's an original musical, so it could get a score and song. So I don't think mentioning Wonka is a bad idea. I just think if you've got Wonka in Best Picture, um, we need to talk. So that's Wonka. That's where I'm at with Wonka. I don't really see it getting in anywhere except some tech cat. But I do think that I will say I do believe that unless this film is awful, that we will actually hear its name called in the Oscar nominations category because it feels very tech heavy and it is opening right at the end of the year when people will be thinking about this kind of stuff. Then again, Matilda the Musical got 0 nominations, so there you go. Not always guaranteed, it's not always promised. Um, and then finally, the last film I wanted to talk about today is a little film that a lot of people are turning their noses up at, and they can go fuck off promptly. Promptly fuck yourselves. There's one called Miad, and I guess we don't like films that feel too Oscar baity anymore. We don't like we're just gonna assume that Oscar voters, now that they've nominated and voted for Everything Everywhere All at Once, that everything is gonna be like that now, and everything's just gonna be this weird, like sort of obscure movies. Listen, just shut up for a second. Miad is from the directors of Free Solo. This is their first foray into feature filmmaking. So if you aren't at least intrigued by that, then I don't know how to help you. But these are Oscar winning documentarians. They also, I believe, did The Rescue. So this is, these guys, they know how to make a documentary look really good. So they're going to take Annette Bening and they're going to have her swim from Florida to Cuba. And that's what this film's about. And Annette Bening is one of those people that has perpetually never been nominated for she's been nominated for Academy Awards, she's never won. She's been holding up that Columbia icon this whole time, and she's never won an Oscar. I think, first of all, I think the fact that the directorial team is what it is, and the fact that people keep going, it sounds like I'm gonna swim to Cuba. I'm just gonna swim to Cuba. Like, what kind of film is that? It's just like they sound bored by it. It's like, again, you guys have predicted everything else based on who is directing this, but you will not look at this and go, huh, this is from the directors of Free Solo. Maybe this will be interesting. Maybe. And by the way, I do believe Netflix is behind this one. So Netflix, which is having a little bit of a hard time with Maestro, may be dumping Maestro in favor of Miad. If Miad is good, they may have to let Maestro go. There's only just so much reshooting Bradley Cooper can do to try to save that film. So, I say Miad, which has Annette Bening and in the supporting cast also features Jodie Foster and Rhys Ifans, who, by the way, has also never been nominated for an Academy Award. If Rhys is in any sort of a role that could possibly warrant the need to nominate him, there could easily be a campaign for him. He could easily come along with this film. He's been around forever, and he has not gotten an Oscar nomination. He broke through largely to audiences with Notting Hill. Do you know how long it's been since Notting Hill? This dude's been acting all over the place. He was just in House of the Dragon. He's a tremendous actor who's given a lot of great performances over the year, and he has not been nominated. So I think this film has a lot more potential than people are giving it credit for. It could be very interesting. Could be a surprise directorial nomination for this team. Uh, I mean, it could get stuff like cinematography. Um, yeah, I mean, the kind of stuff that they used on Free Solo, if they can make this look like Free Solo, I really don't know. I mean, I'm excited for the possibilities of this film for all the same reasons people wrote off or got excited about other films because based on the directors. I'm really surprised that this film is getting shoved aside with how big Free Solo was, and how well talked about those directors are. That their featured directorial debut is not getting more attention, especially given the fact that Annette Bening even has a narrative. We talk about narratives a lot too. She has a narrative. She's never won. She's been nominated a bunch of times without ever winning. So, um, they could do this whole "it's her year, it's her time, it is time for Annette Bening to win an Oscar." I mean, we've been there before and it didn't happen, but they could do it again. Anyway, so those are 10 films to talk about. Obviously, there's more. So I will be talking about those next week. But until then, there's some films for you to marinate on. Yeah, I'm pretty harsh this year. I've watched way too many of these videos, and I feel very strongly when I hear certain things and I hear it being repeated across the internet like it's gold. Um, no, I would say give Niad a chance. Give challengers a chance. Stop assuming that because Bones and All didn't get nominations that Oscars hate Luca Guadagnino now. It's a cannibal film, guys. It was never going to get nominated. I said that early on. Early on, I said Bones and All was never going to get an Oscar nomination. All right. That's my stuff. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll be back next week with 10 more films. Until then, I will see you on the other side.